Hello and welcome to this week's video. This is going to be something a little different. My plan is that each month I'm going to make a small picture. This is 6 inches by 5 inches, I believe. And what I intend to do in December is put them all together and either make it into a garland or make it into a picture, a bit like making a quilt where you put them all together, say 3 on each row, and have a hanging picture that way. I haven't yet decided because I want to see them all together at the end and see which looks nicer. So if you want to do this along with me for the year, that's my intention. Or if you don't, you can pick an individual picture and just make it and pop it in a frame. You obviously don't need to put them all together at the end. It's just something I thought I'd fancy doing, a different way of displaying them. So that's my plan. And let's get on with the picture today, and I hope you enjoy it. Do let me know what you think in the comments below if you think it's a good idea. I'll be honest with you, I'm probably going to do it anyway, but I'd be interested to know what you think and if you have any other ideas for it. So we will end up with 12 pictures, and I say each one is about 6 inches by 5 inches. The drawing, as always, will be in the description box below. You're welcome to go and download that if you'd like it. It's completely free. And just let me know what you think. Thank you very much, and we'll get on with the picture. So here we are. All I'm starting to do is using a dark brown, and I'm going to fill in the top part of this picture with it. Now, as I did the picture, I decided later on that this needed to be a bit darker. So my suggestion would be to add a little bit of black if you've got it to the dark brown, and around the very outside edges, darken it down. And I darkened it down almost to where the lantern is in height from the top to the bottom. You'll see what I mean. So watch this all the way through before you do anything. But you need to fill the top part in with quite a dark brown, mixed maybe with a little bit of black. And this bottom part here, I'm just blocking in where I'm going to do the ground. So as long as it's a dark green, it doesn't really matter. We're going to go over quite a lot of that, so just pop something in that fills in the background. Now here, I wouldn't normally start with middle, but as the lantern is the most important part of this picture, or is the central part, I needed to put that in place first so that I can work out from the lantern to the rest of the picture. Again, you'll see why, but I'm making the middle of the lantern as bright as possible, so I'm using white with a touch of yellow, and I want to make the light look like it's radiating out from the lantern. So I know we've covered up all the outside edges of the rest of the drawing, but it doesn't matter because really at the end of the day you can put what you want on the outside, but the lantern is the most important part. So I have an idea of what the lantern is going to look like, so I'm just making sure it's nice and bright with some white and yellow in the centre there. And I'm now filling in the rest of the brown around that light because I want to start making the light look like it's radiating out from the lantern. So I need to get all this in place first before I go back and pop the frame of the lantern in. And all this is going to change. Like any picture, as you go along, you need to alter certain things. But this, I would do this anyway. I would do this anyway because you will need the light radiating out. And what I've done is I've started with I made sure the centre was bright, so it's a white with a hint of yellow. And then as I go out from the light, because it gradually gets darker as you go away from the lantern, I'm using oranges and yellows to give you the same effect of it getting darker as it goes away. And this is just going down thinly because I still want to see the brown beneath it. And here I'm simply going back and putting the lantern in. The actual shape of the lantern. I was just using this to measure it. I'd got it roughly the right size. My tip here would be try and make sure the uprights of the lantern are upright, because when I finally come to do my picture, I've got the lantern tilting very slightly off to one side, so I'm going to have to make that adjustment by cutting the outside of the picture to when I finish it, to make sure that the lantern is actually hanging down straight. But it's only a little bit, and I suppose in the end the wind could be blowing it, so maybe it wouldn't matter. But I do like to try and keep things as accurate as I can. So I've done the lantern in black, the actual frame, and I'm going over it with slightly lighter colour, because obviously where the light catches the black frame it would be lighter. So I don't want to end up at the end of the picture with a harsh black lantern in the middle, because where the light's radiating out from the middle you wouldn't necessarily see every single part of the uprights. If you have a look at anything where the light's coming out from, it would shine against the black. This is what I'm saying, and so you wouldn't see dark black lines necessarily. So just pop yourself in whatever shape lantern you like. And this bit here, I've just put a little bit of highlight on the top because I don't want it to look flat. So even though perhaps there wouldn't be a massive amount of light on the top of the lantern, I need to give it a little bit of a highlight so that you can see that it's not a flat thing and it does have a shape to it. So I've just added a small amount to the top. And now here I'm popping in my trees. My usual thing, grab a lump of brown and pop it in. I'm thinking here obviously that the light is going to be shining against these trees, so I need to make sure that they stand out from the background. But I haven't done any mixing of colour on this brown. I've just grabbed a lighter brown and popped it in at the moment because I will be going back and putting quite a lot of stuff on it. And you can have as many trees as you like, where you like. I twist the wool like this because it keeps the fibres together. I don't have lots of stray fibres. And when it comes to this kind of magical picture, I like the way it bends and shapes the branches, so that's why I do that. And now again here, I'm just adding what would be the reflection of the light onto the trees. And I do thin layers like this because I want to keep the texture. I want things to show through from below, and so that where the light is hitting the tree, you will still see the brown from underneath. And then when I put some more brown over the top, you'll see the light from underneath, and it gives you that 3D effect. And all the time I'm building up this shape of the tree trunk. So the lightest bit obviously is where the light's going to hit it, and it goes to dark round the back of the tree. And this is just wound up little branches that would be reflecting the light. My whole theme for this garland or bannery kind of picture, when I finished it, is sort of a mystical, magical forest kind of a thing. So we're going to, each month we're going to add things to this picture, but not only that, it's going to be related to that month. So next month, obviously being February, when I'm making this picture, we'll have a Valentine's theme to it, but not intensely, so everything will fit, but it will have that kind of Valentine-y theme, and we'll go on through the year and do things so they kind of relate to that month, whether it's because the weather's going to be warm or cold, or whether there's an actual holiday, that kind of thing that would go within that month that would work. But as I said at the beginning of this, you can just pick a simple picture if you want to. You don't have to do the whole garland. I just thought I'd try something new. And here again, I'm just popping in other trees. I plan to have 3 trees in this picture. And what I'm doing at this moment is I'm adding some more of the brown back into where I had the light radiating, because I decided that I needed to see more of the background through the light. But I do go back and forth and fiddle on this. I wanted the radiating light to be a little more subtle. It was a little intense, so this is why I'm going back and putting some more brown in. Now what I need to do is define where that tree trunk is. Otherwise it was going to get lost back into the background, and it wouldn't do that. It would stand out with all that light shining on it. But this is another picture as well, where I'm keeping the colours very simple. We're using a lot of the same colours all the time through the picture. Now this does look like a random blob of yellow, granted, I'll give you that, but I was thinking fireflies and little magical lanterny things, so although it's just stuck there for ages, it does kind of come into its own at the end. So if you don't want your random weird blobs of yellow, don't pop them in. But I was trying to think fireflies and things like that. And you've got light on that side of the tree, because I was thinking whatever that is, whether it's another little lantern or a firefly, it would reflect, it would, sorry, give off a little light, so it would reflect on the trees around it as well. And this being January's theme, what I thought was, I thought I'd have the little lantern and a nice enchanted forest, and this is supposed to be welcoming you into the forest or into the new year. So that was my idea for the January one. I didn't want it to be, it's sort of a little bit, I guess, Christmassy because you've got the lantern, but this is, that was my idea for it, was to have it as a welcoming lamp into the new enchanted forest or into the new year. I may be overthinking things here. But I do like my pictures and things to tell a story, so that's what I'm hoping this garland will do over the years, tell a story. And if you have events or things that happened in that month for each picture, there's no reason you couldn't add a small nod to that in the picture. If someone was getting married, you could have a little horseshoe in it somewhere, that kind of thing, so you can commemorate that month in some way. So here I'm adding some darker branches because this one would be somewhat hidden behind the tree, so it wouldn't have so much light on it. For me, what makes a picture work when it's this sort of thing is the contrast in the lights and the darks. It's what brings it to life for me. And if you think maybe about looking into woodland at night and that, if someone had a torch, you'd have really, really bright areas, and then everything else would disappear into the darkness. And you have that stark contrast between the light and the dark. So this is what I'm trying to do here, and this is why on the edges you can see me now going back in. I hate doing this, I should have done it to start with, and darkening down the brown. So with a bit of luck, if you're copying this picture, you will make sure it's darker to begin with. What I'm doing now is I've allowed an extra ½ an inch all the way around this picture, because I may put what's it called, bias binding, like an edge all the way around to frame the pictures. So I may be sewing on a bias binding at the end of this when I put them all together. So I know that ½ an inch all the way around the outside of the picture is spare area. So everything I want that's important needs to stay 1/2 inch in from the edge. So whatever size, if you're going to do my same thing, you can do this picture whatever size you like, obviously, but whatever you do, allow yourself 1/2 inch around the edge of it. And I don't know what kind of binding for the edges I'm going to use, what colour. I'll probably use a cotton, but I don't know what colour or anything yet, because I want to see the overall thing of all the pictures first before I make any decisions on that. So this will be the last tree that I put in for this side. So here again I'm thinking, where's the light going to catch the tree? Where is it going to be dark? All I'm doing again is darkening down, because I kept thinking that it was just too light and I wanted to make it, so this is just brown mixed with some black. So that's why I say, if you've watched this all the way through first before you have a go, you can see how much I've darkened it down. And the yellows and oranges and all that I'm using are exactly the same colours that I've used on the lantern. So all the light matches together. So all the way through this, just think to yourself, where would the light hit that object, that branch, whatever, and add a bit of light to it. But you don't have to get too worried about this because it's a fantasy picture. So long as you've got the main parts in and you do your best to have some light in towards the centre of the picture, you should be fine. Again, I'm adding some more dark. I didn't like how much the light was spreading from the central lamp. And I do keep working on that, adding, and I move the, if you've watched me before, you know I use my needle to spread things around, and I do that with the rays coming from the lamp. I mixed it in with the brown behind. You'll probably see me doing that. I mean, if you want to see as well what I mean by a little bit of poetic license about the lights and the darks, if you go and look at the top right hand part of my picture, I've got very light branches, orangey branches. Well, in real life it wouldn't be like that, it wouldn't be that orange, but I liked the fact that I could bring a bit of lightness to that area, so that's why I left them. This is what I'm saying, is about it hasn't got to be perfectly realistic. You just look at the picture and think, well, I like that there and I don't like that there. And because it's your picture, you can do as you please. No one can tell you it's right or wrong, it's your picture. So around the lantern here I added a little bit of extra light, almost like a border around the lantern, because I didn't think it was bright enough. That's how I use my needle, is very gently just move the wool around a bit and it mixes it in. So what you're going for is contrast all the way through this picture. You've got bright brights and dark darks. So now we're coming down to the base area, and I'm putting I've mixed some black in with the base colour I put down, and I'm starting just to put some black. There's no rhyme or reason, I'm just putting some down so I can have some contrast in a minute between what I'm putting there, and I will have some shadows. And because I don't throw away any of my wool, I have all sorts of greens and things in a bag, and I just grab a handful of odd bits and pieces that I've got left and I mix them together, so I can have some very weird green colours, but it doesn't matter because it's background. Well, this green here I had from an advent calendar a couple of years ago, and it's got some little dots of colour in it, and this is more or less my last part of it, so I thought I'll use that because the dots are nice. So I don't know how many will show up, but any green will work. Again, if you look, I'm just plonking it down in patches. And as you can see here, as it gets closer to the lantern, obviously the greens get lighter and brighter. Where it would, the light from the lamp, obviously with lamp and, can't even speak, the light from the lamp would be reflecting off the floor. And here again, I'm not going for accuracy on colours and things, I'm going for the contrast, the lights and the darks. So whatever greens you have, or whatever colours you mix, just do it that way, just have light and dark, don't worry about what colour they actually are. And what I'm attempting here is just to have it looking like uneven ground, sort of, if I was thinking mossy stones and all that sort of thing, kind of magical ground. So I've just tried to make it uneven looking. And because I'd got all that green on the ground, I thought the top of the picture started to look unbalanced. So I put some, I guess it's moss, ivy, up the trees itself. I added a little bit of green on the trees, and in the final picture you'll see I've added some on the other trees as well. So I'm back to some more random orange blobs. I can see it in my head. They're like, you know, magical little light blobby bits. Alright, so down here on this, down here on this bottom part picture, I had some locks, which is just kind of long curly bits of wool. You don't need to use them. I never use them. I thought I'd have a go and use them a bit. What you're aiming for down here is just some nice little colours, just to bring it to life a bit. So you don't have to use the locks, you can use wool and put little flowers in. And I'm not even sure that they worked all that well, to be honest with you. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think. I did like the colours, I just wasn't sure about it. And literally down here I'm just adding some colour. I want the picture to be I want the interest of the picture to be at the bottom half of this picture, and I want it to disappear gradually off into the forest in the background and at the top. So if you've had some weird colours or anything like that, you're not sure what to do with them, just make them into some little flowers and things for the bottom of the picture. And never in my life have I made so many mushrooms and toadstools than I have in the last year. But because it's fantasy, I felt it needed yet another mushroom. But if you've been following along with my picture, you should be expert at mushrooms and toadstools by now. And what I did here as well is I put the darker brown round the mushroom, because otherwise it was going to get lost in the lantern light, and as it's not actually under the lantern, it wouldn't disappear into the light in that way, so that's why I outlined it a bit. And here I hadn't got any particular idea. I had some idea of how I wanted the mushroom to look, but I was just working off my mind really, rather than a picture, so it does change a little bit as it goes along. I'm just mixing the pictures in. I've made it a little darker where the gills are, and then I've gone and put this stalk part back in. And again, you don't have to worry about it being totally accurate and highly artistically correct and all this stuff. Just have some fun, and so long as it looks like a mushroom or a toadstool at the end, you're not going to go wrong. So don't get all worried about it's got to be absolutely perfect and correct and stuff. This is about having fun. I'm attempting to make it look not like a flat piece of beige that I put on the picture, so I've tried to put a few lights and darks on the top of the mushroom cap. And because I was putting this little mushroom here, I went into the background and darkened it down a bit, because I didn't think it would stand out enough otherwise. That's why I put that blacky browny colour in the background. So just carry on and add some extra mushrooms, toadstools, little bits of flowers, anything you like along the bottom, and just use up whatever colours you fancy. And have fun. This is what it's all about. It's practicing, honing your skills, and having something nice to see at the end of it. And I hope that's what you feel you get from these pictures, is that you're learning things. Obviously I'm no expert on all of it, but I do hope that I guide you some way to learning new things and that you get enjoyment out of it. I know I enjoy sharing this with you and making these pictures for you. It's made a difference to me, and I hope it makes a difference to you. It's a lot of fun. It's nice to do. And I hope you've enjoyed this picture. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Any questions, do also leave them below. I like to hear from you. It's always nice. Don't forget to like the picture and subscribe if you've enjoyed it and you've got something out of it. And I will see you for the next one in the series, and I will see you next Friday for the next picture. Have fun. Bye for now.